Along the way, there has been at least some questions come up from the standpoint of resolutions from within our legislature. The great Senator Charlie Trump, a great delegate, so many people have come up with resolutions that have basically said, if you're not happy where you're at, come on down. I would say exactly just that. If you're not truly happy where you are, we stand with open arms to take you from Virginia or anywhere you may be. We stand strongly behind the Second Amendment, and we stand strongly for the unborn. If you're out there, no matter where you may be, Virginia or wherever you may be, as an individual or as a business or whatever, West Virginia is waiting for you with open arms. West Virginia is a great place, and you'll never, ever, ever regret it.
And while Governor Justice and I have always shared great pride for our own states, that's what's happening in Virginia right now is a tragedy in the making. Democratic leaders in Richmond, through their elitism and radicalism, have left a nearly unrecognizable state in their wake. Despite a spate of scandals, over the past 2 years, the Democrats control every statewide elected office throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, as well as both chambers of the state legislature. And they're using their power to strip away the God-given rights held by every person in the state, despite their protections under the U.S. Constitution. All this smacks of elitism at a time when populism under leaders like Donald Trump and Jim Justice have restored America's founding principles and hope for the future. But it has also awoken a sleeping giant of passionate conservatives who will stand up against this infringement of their God-given rights. The assault on individual liberties in Virginia has drawn attention to the fluid border that has existed ever since the great state of West Virginia was formed in the midst of the U.S. Civil War. Dating back to when the war was tearing families and communities apart, the opportunities for counties in Virginia to join the ranks of those in West Virginia has remained an open invitation to this day. While action by the legislature in both states and possibly even the U.S. Congress might still be required, the palpable yearning in Virginia for a pathway to greater freedom with our family in West Virginia grows greater by the day. Petitions are already circulating online, and one group has dubbed this movement Vexit, V-E-X-I-T. Recently, I learned about a resolution currently moving through the West Virginia House from my son Trey, and it prompted me to contact my friend, Governor Justice. This resolution effectively puts out a welcome sign inviting any counties in Virginia to become part of the state of West Virginia. While there will likely be a robust debate about how cities and counties could leave their home state of Virginia, one thing is absolutely certain. Many counties are taking a long, hard look at escaping the barbaric, totalitarian, and corrupt Democratic regime in Richmond that is trampling on individual rights throughout the state. If the groundswell of support grows for cities and counties to leave, what's also certain is that they will be joining the mountain state miracle that Governor Jim Justice has engineered with the help of his good friend, President Donald Trump. That's why, while I will be campaigning for my good friends President Trump and Governor Justice this election year, I will also be supporting any efforts to let the people decide the question of Virginia counties joining the state of West Virginia. The threat from the radical twice in the past to create the Commonwealth of Kentucky in 1792 and the state of West Virginia in 1863. The lawyers tell me that what has to happen is that counties in Virginia and cities have to start petition drives and ask their board, after they get the signatures, ask their Board of Supervisors or City Council to put the referendum on the ballot this November. The referendum would not be binding, so they'd be asking their supervisors and councilwomen to put on a referendum that's not binding, but that will put pressure on politicians in Richmond to do the right thing. I think West Virginia has already said they'll accept whoever wants to come, but the counties and cities in Virginia, after they show their support by voting this fall, will then have to go to the General Assembly and get approval to leave.
So it's your understanding that Congress would not be involved?
We don't know that yet.
We don't know.
Last time it split, we weren't part of the United States. We were part of the Confederate States of America. So it's hard to, there's no precedent for it, but, well, I guess Kentucky. But
You read rather quickly in your statement, but you indicated that were you saying you were supportive of Vexit and other movements, or were you?
I'm supporting for, give the people whatever they need to make the decision for the state and for the counties and cities. And I think it makes sense. I would vote for it in my county. And I think the problem is our founders, when they created the District of Columbia, they meant for it to be a federal district where the federal government operated. And they thought it was big enough to encompass the entire federal government operation. Well, the problem is they had no idea back then that it would sprawl over to 20 times its size. So now you have people who were intended by the founders to be in a federal district and not voting in any state because they have conflict of interest, voting in Virginia. And that's really what's messed up, taking control of Virginia away from its residents. So until we can get the District of Columbia boundaries, I should say, expanded to cover the whole Washington, D.C. metro area, I think this is the only option that we have.
How realistic do you think any of this is?
It's a long shot, no question about it, and it depends on how much grassroots support that it receives. But it will, even if it doesn't completely succeed, it'll send a clear message of what a great job Governor Justice is doing here in West Virginia by how many people would like to go, even if they're not allowed to go. So,
what do you make of the Virginia lawmaker's suggestion that the D.C. district, as it was originally drawn up until 1846, should be restored? In other words, Arlington and
No, it would have to
Virginia.
be 10 times that big. It would have to be what the founders intended, which it would have to be big enough to cover the entire federal government. And that would include contractors, employees, basically all of Northern Virginia. And so that's something that would definitely require an act of Congress. I think it's what our founders intended. But, and I've proposed it to high-level folks in federal government, and they're interested in hearing about it. But I think this has a better chance of working for Virginia than that does.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say one thing and follow up to you. And it's just this. You may think, well, what's West Virginia's role in all this? And West Virginia's role is just one thing. And just that. And you know, whether it be Senator Charlie Trump's resolution or whether it be Delegate Gary Howell's resolution and everything, West Virginia's role is one thing, and that is to tell the world just how inviting we are and that we would welcome with open arms. We don't know all the intricacies that are going on, and we surely don't know, whether or not that this can run across the finish line. And we all know that there's difficulties in making it run across the finish line. However, we all know this, that if there's people or there's businesses or there's counties that are discontent, we want the world to know just how welcoming West Virginia is. And so that's our role. That's my role. My role is to say, we're doing all kinds of great stuff in West Virginia, and absolutely the proof's in the pudding. West Virginia's really on the move. And so with all of that, we want everyone to know we stand with open arms. We want to welcome. We want to bring you in and everything. And I truly believe that, whether it's a long shot or it's a sure shot, you're never going to get there unless there's an effort to try. And that's all there is to it. And so my advice to any and everybody on everything in life would be just this. You know, there was a guy just the other day that spoke at the Big Atlantic Banquet, which was a basketball tournament that I run and have been doing forever. And he's the coach of Marshall University, it's Danny D'Antoni. He said his mom used to tell him all the time, if you walk all the time with the crowd, you'll always be just in the crowd. You know, he coached Kobe Bryant. And Kobe Bryant was dying probably while he was speaking, and none of us knew it. You know, an incredible man with an incredible message and everything. He said that in his life, his grandfather was an immigrant, and the best day of his life every year, get this, was April 15th. When he said, they made us bring the wine out to him. He had a big cigar, and he signed his tax return with the greatest pride in the world because he came to this incredible country. Incredible country. You know, now, you know, there's surely things going on that I won't get down in the weeds about in Virginia at all. I don't have any business doing that. I don't want to do that in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
He made me do it.
But I want everybody to know, yeah, this is a good place here. Come on down.
I'll say this, it has happened twice before, Kentucky and West Virginia. And I don't think it's as much of a long shot as it was for Liberty University to grow from a little small Bible college to the largest Christian university in the world in the last 10 years. So I've seen miraculous things happen, and so has Governor Justice. So we'll see. But like you say, if you don't try, it definitely won't happen.